Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl Season 3, and this is going to be my review for Episode 6 for the season, almost at the halfway point, but this episode is otherwise entitled The Betrayal. But of course, spoiler alert, if you've not watched the episode, what are you doing? Go away. Why would you still be here? Because we're going to be talking about everything that happened in this episode, so go away. But if you are sticking around, you've watched the episode, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts, opinions, theories, predictions going forward from this episode. Curious to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, if you want to enjoy the video, want to show your support and everything like that, and you enjoyed the episode, want to drop a like on the video to show all that support. So last episode had like three probably big major events or major storylines that will flow into this episode with, Courtney being sidetracked from the activities within the JSA and solving the murder of the gambler by going and helping out Cameron or Icicle Jr. out with his powers, which we see he isn't fully under control with due to some anger, potentially coming out with Cindy. And his grandparents aren't too happy either with him hanging out with Courtney. So, multiple people. It's a bit of a weird triangle of anger. Yeah, bit odd, bit weird. But speaking of Cindy, she is on the hunt for help from her father's various hidden labs around the country, but she's not the only one seeking them out, so will Sylvester, due to knowledge about them from the past. However, in the first one we go to, there isn't really much for either Cindy to use or for Sylvester to use to track anything like that, because they're still under the belief, at least at that point, that Dragon King is still out there. Meanwhile, towards the end of the episode, through some intel from Sylvester, Rick is able to remove the time trigger or time sort of keeper thing from the hourglass, which now should give him endless power. He looks different when he uses it as well now, so it's not limited to an hour like it should be, but at what cost? Very intriguing. And to end the episode off, Yolanda follows her gut feeling from earlier in the episode that something is up with Cindy by sneaking into her room and finding the gambler's stolen laptop. Busted. Now, overall, this episode was a bit of a... I don't want to say it was very slow, but it felt like not a ridiculous amount happened, but I think it was because it was laying everything that's happened in the previous 5 episodes as well as some of the stuff that's happened in this episode, just laying it all out there, explaining certain things and making sure that our characters know where everything lies, if that makes sense. Like, everything's been revealed that needs to be revealed in regards to a couple different characters. And then it sets everything up for next week, because I did watch the promo. I saw the promo after the episode aired, and it looks insane. It looks like things are going to be dialed up to 11 as we move into what was pretty much set up at the end of last season, though it's connected based off the way this episode ends. So I'm very curious to see how the next half of this season is, because it seems like it's going to be a bit more hectic, and it might excuse what people have said is a slow start. I've very much enjoyed this season and how it's been set up with the murder mystery and everything like that, and it's seemingly being explained how that's going to connect to the back half now. But I think if you weren't too happy with the pacing, or at least how things were handled at the beginning, I'm sure you'll start to like things as we move on next week and beyond towards the end of the season. But let's just jump into the actual breakdown of the episode and talk about all the nitty gritty. So we do start off with Cindy back at the JSA HQ after she had to bail when the JSA intruded and rudely decided to sort of blow a lot of stuff up. But we see her eyes and they sort of slit over or blink over like a reptile. So the change is moving onwards with her. And you can see she's struggling quite a bit. Now, Rick does break into Crusher's gym, and it wasn't for any intel or anything like that. I thought, okay, what's he doing? I thought we were fine with Crusher at the moment, but yeah, he's not there for any intel. He's there to actually test how long he can go with the hourglass and his powers, and he's lifting hella weights, like ridiculous size weights, but seeming to get more and more powerful as the time goes on, eventually that time surpassing that hour mark where normally it would, cut off. And his powers are still working better than ever when he, goes past that hour mark. Now, obviously, Rick is stoked about this, but we can just tell that there should be a downside to this eventually. Nothing happens in this episode in regards to it. I personally think it's going to end up being like an anger issue or something like that. But we might have to wait till like 3 or 4 more episodes when maybe there's a couple of different points where Rick uses it for more than an hour, or maybe there's an episode where the time of the episode stretches over a long period where Rick just keeps the hourglass on. So I'm curious to see what the downfall or the downside of it is. I'm going to assume anger, but maybe it's even something worse. But after Rick, while Rick is doing his testing workout thing, he's actually being watched, like we've seen a couple times this season, along with the rest of Blue Valley, once again by this mysterious figure again, who we assumed was Mr. Bones based off the fact we saw like the leather glove a handful of episodes ago. And we do see he is piecing together this jigsaw puzzle And it makes you wonder whether that puzzle was actually going to mean anything. And it does by the end of the episode. And I thought it was like some security footage. It looked like just like the grainy black and white footage. But I was like, hey, maybe it's something else. We couldn't really tell what it was early on. But yeah, we get to see what it is at the end of the episode, which definitely sets up next week or next episode. Now, Yolanda at the confessional, I was sort of surprised, but I was like, oh, okay, we're back here. And I thought it was interesting that the father there brought up, jumping to judge people, in this case, Cindy. And I did wonder if that was going to come up again later in the episode, which it sort of does. But Yolanda, you think, was there to seek forgiveness for actually stealing the laptop, which is against one of the, the sins, the commandments, might I say. But she's actually seeking forgiveness in advance for something she is going to do, which is, I guess, kick Sydney's ass, like she said at the end of last episode. Now, Courtney coaching Cameron through the control of his powers, like Sylvester did with her, was pretty cool. Like, the scene was cool with all the ice and stuff, similar to the one, was it 2 episodes ago, I think, at nighttime. And of course this works, but Courtney is constantly reminded of the potential bad side of Cameron as he does construct the ice statue of his father, of course that being Jordan McKen or Icicle. And just Cameron still has this deep down love and admiration for his father. And all Courtney can do is just stand there and go, yeah, he was really cool, wasn't he? Oh, wait, he was a piece of crap, but yeah, he was really cool. I'm just going to have to pretend like this. And that's not going to be able to go on for that long. Now, the question with this is, when will Cameron find out what his father truly was, what his father truly did, and more importantly, what really happened to his father? That's going to happen. You have to think it 100% happens. And obviously the interesting thing around that is, 1, who tells him, and 2, how does Cameron react to it? Because there's 2 sides. Cameron can be really disappointed in his father and sort of understand why, people did kill him or he had to be taken out, or he can think that his father was done, hard by, side with his father and maybe turn bad and I guess side with his grandparents in return. So seeing the fallout of that's going to be very interesting. When it happens is another question. Surely it happens this season, but it might be towards the end rather than like the next handful of episodes, but that's a wait and find out. Now, there's not too much Joaquin and Mike in this episode following last episode. There's just a bit, and it still follows on from what they were trying to do, and they're still desperate to get Cindy on their team to immediate disapproval, dismissal, and just general, hey, no, go away. And you got to admire the hustle, though. Like, that's one thing you got to admire. But going to Zeke was a pretty interesting choice, and that's all I have to say about that. I mean, Zeke's life guidance is very groovy, but definitely out there. Now, Yolanda does bring the laptop to the other JSA members, but Sylvester realizes that letting Cindy realize it's gone probably isn't the best idea, as she could just run off, and lose any lead to her as well as anyone else potentially involved. But getting the intel off the computer quickly isn't a bad idea, and should help them with certain little things here and there. So, yeah, having the laptop isn't a bad idea, but keeping it for too long is probably a bad idea. Now, one of the things that was set up in the trailer for this episode, which I was intrigued to see how it would play out, was Pat and Barbara going to meet Cameron's grandparents. And the vibes during this thing aren't the best. I thought Cameron and Courtney showing up based off the trailer and the promo images would make the conversation awkward, but it sort of broke the awkwardness up, though they aren't too pleased that this meeting is happening in front of their eyes. They're like, hey, not the biggest fan of this. But the thing to take from this is that Cameron's grandmother appears to be the dangerous one here. She's just like wants to kill people. And I wonder whether she's going to be the one that just bites the bullet, what do you want to call it, and just tells Cameron the truth. What happened to his father, what his father was trying to do, who killed him, everything like that. Because really, Mike is the one that killed Icicle. So does that come out or does she just say that Courtney killed him? Or does she just say like the JSA in general, Courtney Stargirl, and they're the ones that killed his father? I don't know which way they're going to go with it, because the truth is that Mike killed Icicle, but Cameron's grandmother and I guess maybe just his grandparents as a whole might just say, oh no, it was just that group that your little girlfriend Courtney hangs out with, the JSA. They're the ones responsible. So could go either way. I guess she can just say what she wants. Now, Beth does download the contents of the gambler's laptop before Yolanda does actually take it back to Cindy's, but Beth does get into another, hard talk with her parents about keeping them out of the JSA side of her life. And I wonder whether they just can't help themselves. And I don't think they'll die. I think that's maybe a bit too harsh. But I think they might get themselves in trouble just because they can't help themselves. That might just happen. Or it might just be that they don't completely get themselves out of Beth's life. And there's a little bit of, still like attending to her and, everything like that and connecting themselves to her. And then maybe like the JSA's families do get targeted, which ends up in her families being, a target. So maybe something like that happens, but I don't think they'll die. I think that might be a bit too much. Now, when Yolanda does take this the laptop back to Cindy's, she's of course met by Cindy, who does actually try to explain herself. So she knows that Yolanda took the laptop and was like, well, it's probably Yolanda that took it, so I'll just wait for her and, try to explain myself, I guess. But Yolanda really has no time for that. No time for explaining, only time for fighting. With the ultimate disrespect for Cindy coming when Yolanda cuts off like some of her streaked hair, which I thought was funny. She just looks down and goes, hey, that costs money to do. That's my style. However, while all this is going on, Beth does get that security feed pop up on her laptop while going through the gambler's hard drive, similar to what happened with the gambler on his laptop before he was murdered. And Beth tries to reach out, to Courtney for help once she sees what's going on there and everything like that. But of course, Rick's got the heads up before because he joins in on the fight against Cindy, where Cindy's arm is exposed and Rick and Yolanda actually do get to see her scaled skin. Now, Courtney does arrive just in time to help break up the fight, which does allow Cindy to sort of, explain herself and generally what's happening to her. And we learned that the change started to happen after Courtney and Cindy came back from the Shadowlands last season, and that's why she took the laptop to find some help, which we assumed based off last episode that's why she did it, because that's what she was looking for within the actual laptop, was the location of her father's labs. She wasn't looking for other things like, oh, what's Rick's password to his Facebook or something like that. Anyway, would Rick use Facebook? I don't know. Whatever. But Courtney does try to offer Cindy help, which I thought, that's something that Courtney would do, but says that, Cindy shouldn't help, shouldn't keep secrets, which triggers Cindy to the point where she exposes Courtney because she's sort of been keeping a secret for Courtney from the others, and that's because she's helping Cameron out with his powers, which does not please Rick and Yolanda. Like, they knew that she was spending time with Cameron because, potential lovey-dovey stuff, but nothing in regards to helping him with his powers, which obviously could lead him to being a villain like his father was. With Cindy also threatening Courtney, about her potentially telling Cameron what really happened to his father, which would scare the living crap out of Courtney, and she's definitely worried. And the big question is whether Cindy does that before Courtney is able to explain herself. Because now Courtney's in this position where Cindy's probably like a ticking time bomb in regards to whether she tells Cameron that. Now, Cameron could just say, I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. And Cindy might have to show proof of it. Or it might be one of those things where Cindy tells Cameron he doesn't believe it. And then maybe it's a time frame of when he actually asks his grandparents whether it's true or not. Or maybe he does his own research, whatever it might be, something like that. So yeah, Courtney's got herself in a bit of an issue here. Not a massive issue, but she's got some time to think it over before she has to make a decision. Now, back in the workshop, Courtney does try to explain herself similar to how Cindy tried to explain herself, and Courtney just doesn't really do the best job at it. The other JSA members have all the right in the world to be upset, though you sort of have to feel sorry for Courtney as well, because she was just so swept up in helping out Cameron and what was developing there in their relationship that she just didn't realize what she was doing to her friends. I think you got to remember that this, Courtney's only like 15 or 16 or something like that. She's still very young. She's not like a 20-year-old woman that's gone through all these life experiences. This is like the first lovey-dovey relationship and everything like that. You get swept up in it all, and sometimes it just takes over your life. But she is the leader of the JSA, and she needs to be a bit more responsible. So as I said, the other JSA members have all the right to be upset, and when Courtney suggested, hey, Sylvester could just do it while I'm gone, it's like, hey, he's already been doing that for a while, so you haven't even taken notice of that. So that's another issue there. Now, speaking of Sylvester, we did have that great chat between Sylvester and Courtney, which I thought was a highlight of the episode, and Sylvester bringing up, that they share some similar attributes, trying to fix and solve everything, which ends up causing more issues a lot of the time, and not really being able to split their superhero or JSA side and their normal lives. And Courtney's struggling with that at the moment because what's going on in the JSA is obviously a Stargirl issue, but the Cameron stuff is more of a Courtney issue. Even though she's using her experience as a Stargirl, it is more of a Courtney issue, but she's like not figuring out how to balance it. But Sylvester does side with Courtney's judgment on Cameron and pushes her to keep at it if it's what she truly believes. And he does sort of go over, his sister and the fact that like Henry King Jr. was his last living relative before he, I guess Henry's own father killed him. So that was a bit sad that he didn't get to meet Henry because he had technically been revived before Henry King Jr. had been killed. So it makes Henry King Jr.'s death even sadder, if you think about it. Because Henry King Jr. himself felt he was alone because his father wasn't a part of his life. But he had an uncle there in Sylvester that was only like months away from showing up. So that makes that death even sadder when you look back at it. But to finish off the episode, we do have Beth on her laptop once again with the security feed. You know, just making sure her room doesn't have any cameras in it, just to double check using the Dr. Midnight goggles. But she does rush to Pat and Courtney's to show them the feed and how much it covers, with us getting to see that there's a camera in the kitchen as well, as long as outside the house and all these different areas. But we also get to see the security footage room where this mysterious figure is watching, most likely Mr. Bones, and we get to see the mostly finished jigsaw puzzle. At least it shows us a good picture or like a still from the security footage, and it appears to be Mr. Bones' face. And I'm going to assume that this security footage is from the night that the gambler was killed. So Mr. Burns, what is this, The Simpsons? Mr. Bones killed the gambler. Now the question is, why? That's still the question. We still don't know why. And I'm sure we'll hopefully learn over the next couple of episodes, because at the moment, the gamblers died for nothing. There was actual possible reasons before, when there was like, you're looking at the Crocs, looking at the Shade and stuff like that, even looking at Cindy. But why would Mr. Bones do it? Why would the Helix Institute have to do it? That's another question. And based off next week, we're going to the Helix Institute. We're going to learn more about Mr. Bones and some other people there, hopefully, based off the promo. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next episode. But yeah, guys, as I said at the beginning, like, this episode was really sort of like laying out where our characters are at the moment and sort of revealing certain things that were hidden, stuff with Cindy, stuff with Cameron, stuff with Courtney, everything like that, while also planting one hell of a seed for what's happening next week or next episode and beyond that as well, with Mr. Bones and the Helix Institute. And we still, as I said, still have that mystery as to why the gambler was killed. That's a story in its own. So can't wait to see how it all happens, but I think this episode was done pretty well. And yeah, another solid part of this season, in my opinion, at the very least. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on the episode, any theories, predictions moving forward, any issues you have with the episode. Always let me know in the comments. Always curious to read. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.